Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Louise Masson. I'm General Manager at Harvey Nichols. If anybody doesn't know me, I'm sure you all do know the store. Anyway, welcome to the first workshop of the week-long Edinburgh Business Festival. And thank you all very much for taking the time to join us all today. The overall theme for this workshop is people. One of the policy priorities for the Edinburgh Chamber, and we're delighted to partner today with Skills Development Scotland, who are our sponsor for this event, and they will deliver the workshop. So over the past year, the pandemic has caused huge shift in how we all work and live. And as a result, all of Scotland's employers are adapting to a new environmental and economic environment. Including a greater focus on innovation and productivity, and having where we're having the right blend of skills in the place is essential. It's been a very interesting year for all of us, I'm quite sure. This is an issue that is incredibly important to the business community in Edinburgh, and the Chamber recently convened the Edinburgh Business Resilience Group. I'm part of that group and was invited on specifically to support the employability part of the group, which is headed up by Audrey Cumberford from the Edinburgh College. Some of the key themes that have been emerging from this group are the need for upskilling and reskilling, and the importance of transferable skills and supporting people between different sectors. Also, the need for long-term strategic investment in training and skills development, and the need to support sustainable and effective links between both the business community and the education providers. One of the things that's really coming to light, and it was interesting listening to some things this morning from one of the ministers of Scotland, Fiona Hislop, saying the importance of technology is certainly one of Edinburgh's key things, and fintech specifically, and also how we then use digital skills and the investment in infrastructure we may need to support that. So in summary, how can we support a louder and collective voice from business leaders in the region to support investment, skills, talent, and development of people, etc.? So clearly this workshop's really going to be important, and the importance of people and skills in the workplace is key. And the format for today is a presentation by Skills Development Scotland, followed by some breakout room discussions and a Q&A before the end and when we wrap up. So that's all from me, and thank you very much for coming along. And I'll now hand over to Skills Development Scotland team.
I'll quickly introduce myself. So I'm Gary Gray, I'm the Skills for Growth Manager at Skills Development Scotland, and myself and my colleague Scott Leishman are just going to run through, first of all, a wee bit about the apprenticeship family and a couple of offers of support that hopefully can support your business in the future. So I'm going to pass you over to Scott.
But yes, thanks very much. As Gary says, my name's Scott Leishman, and I work with the Employer Services team at Skills Development Scotland. So as part of today's session, I'm going to go through a quick overview of the apprenticeships currently on offer to employers. And obviously, as I've mentioned, I'll stay on the call to answer any questions that you may have. So this first slide, first of all, is I apologise that it's not the sharpest, is the SDS employer offer, which is ultimately one-to-one business support. There are two websites, so two digital offers. First one, our Skills Force, so a website with various tips and advice on anything from growth to training, helping organisations that are looking to grow. They also give you advice on Brexit and COVID and the likes. The other offer is apprenticeships.scot, which as the name suggests, focuses more on the apprenticeships available. So within that website, you'll find more information on all three apprenticeships, the frameworks available, more information on training providers. It has case studies on all the apprenticeships that you can use and promote and study, as well as free advertising for any apprenticeship jobs. And on the flip of that, anyone who's looking for apprenticeship roles can search for jobs on there. So if an employer has looked at the website, so would like more information or that one-to-one support, first of all, there's the employee helpline. So the contact centre would help with any query and try and answer that as the single point of contact. First of all, If any information from that isn't suffice, or the company's looking for more support, this can then be escalated to the employer services team. So relationship account executive would be the first team, and that's where I sit, and that is skill support for larger businesses. So our focus is very much on what we would class as apprenticeship levy paying companies, which normally equates to about 125 to 150 staff plus. And we support on anything from understanding apprenticeships, looking at frameworks, help with training providers, supporting growth or attracting young talent, working with schools, etc. The next team, and this is Gary's team, is the Skills for Growth Advisors. And this is, and Gary will go into more detail, but ultimately support for SMEs throughout Scotland. And the final team would be the Growth Inward Investment team, who would support employers who are looking at a large growth project within Scotland, or potentially not based in Scotland, looking to open up elsewhere and considering Scotland as an option, and they would work with them. The next slide, please, Gary. So these are the 3 apprenticeships available. There's the foundation apprenticeship, modern and graduate, all very different in their delivery, but ultimately all designed to complement each other and are based around the skills employers are looking for and industries determine is important to Scotland's growth ambitions. So first of all, here we have the foundation apprenticeship. So in this senior phase at school, a young person can choose to take a foundation apprenticeship as one of their chosen subjects as part of their timetable. And any given day, it could be that they have double maths, double English, chemistry, and then their foundation apprenticeship. Most commonly, it's over 2 years. There is a 1-year option, but I'll talk through the 2-year more common module, or way it's run, sorry. But ultimately, in their 5th year, they would work with a college or training provider, focusing on their chosen framework. So for ease, if I say financial services, they've decided that they think they would like a career in financial services, so they've chosen the foundation apprenticeship in that. In their 5th year, they'd be normally attending college. I appreciate it's online at the moment, but within the college, they would have industry talks. Employers would come and speak to them. They would get all different kinds of career information, even looking at things such as in-work etiquette within the workplace. But throughout this, they're completing learning modules and working towards outcomes. Then in their 6th year, the 2nd year, they would go out and they would do a placement with an employer. Again, normally that's within the premises. This year it has been virtual placements. But within that, they're working towards, it's not like the old work placements I would do at school, they're working towards learning outcomes. Now this is based on the role and the type of career they're choosing, but it will also include things like meta skills. So if you're doing business skills or finance, for instance, it might even be partaking in a Zoom meeting, or it might be a team meeting and putting an idea forward. So it's all promoting confidence and things like that within the workplace. There are 12 frameworks available at SCQF level 6, the same level as a higher, but there are also 3 frameworks currently being piloted at level 4 and 5. The next slide, Gary, please. This will talk through the subjects to cover. So 12 foundation apprenticeships available, all in growing sectors and cracking career opportunities at the end, but everything from, as you see, accountancy and business skills, which I've touched on, through to software development, hardware and system support, helping the digital skills as mentioned. Within that, as you can see, there are some that were a bit more difficult this year when we're doing it virtually. So there is a dependence on things like engineering and social services, where the people would benefit a lot more from being in the premises. But we've adapted it as much as we can this year. But it gives you an idea of the subjects. Next slide, Gary. What we'll talk about here are the benefits, and this is very much from the employer point of view. So the apprenticeship survey 2020, and this was the feedback we had from employers as the main benefits. So get early access to future talent. As an example, I work with a tech company in Edinburgh. Great company to work for, the retention's really good, but it's how do they attract the youngsters as they're leaving school? How do they attract this future talent when there is Microsoft and Skyscanner and Rockstar Games, the young people naturally attract to? So how do you help? Well, if you get young people in as foundation apprenticeships and they see what a great place is to work, the natural attraction then is to apply and join the modern apprenticeship within that company. There's no direct cost to you as an employer. You're not paying the young person as they're at school, and all travel costs are paid for by SDS. Chance to fast track talent development into your business. Certainly a company who's using an MA, the FA articulates perfectly onto that MA. Develops your staff as coaches and mentors. So I've spoken to employers before about the Foundation Apprenticeship Programme, and the feedback may be that, there's no upcoming vacancies within the accountancy team, so there wouldn't be the opportunity to take on. There's no obligation to take on an FA at the end of their placement. So it's not always has to be about attracting talent in, but actually an accountancy team could benefit from getting a young person in. It develops their skills as coaches and mentors, and I can guarantee 9 times out of 10 they're probably going to learn something from the young person as well. And it grows your business with the skills you need. And just some stats here about the feedback. The next apprenticeship we're going to talk about is the modern apprenticeship. So if you're doing a modern apprenticeship, it's a job just like any other. Ultimately, you're working towards a qualification while you're earning. It's probably more commonly known than the FA and GA that are still in their infancy, but quite often people only associate modern apprenticeships with construction roles, hairdressing, maybe automotive, but actually there are over 100 types, with wide ranging from digital to engineering to health and social care, wind turbine operations, jewellery making, lots of different options within a chosen career. There are a wide range of training providers, from colleges to employers to private training providers, and they'll offer different styles of delivery, very much to suit them as an organisation, but also to give employers as much flexibility as possible in what would suit their business. And there are currently over 12,000 employers, from large to small, and well-known organisations offering MAs throughout Scotland. So what are the benefits to employers? So again, looking at the feedback we had from the survey, with a wide range of training providers, as I mentioned, you can ensure the training suits the business needs, which helps to learn and develop in the role. Modern apprenticeships are great at attracting young talent to your business, but they're not just for new staff. MAs can be used to upskill, as we discussed, existing staff. This will help fill skills gaps within the organisation. I mean, ultimately, why would you go out and spend money and time recruiting for roles when the skill set could already be in the business with some tailored training? Our apprenticeship survey found 79% of employers felt offering MAs improved staff morale, and 72% saw it directly improve staff retention. As we know, anyone as an employee, if you feel that your employer is investing in you, you feel more part, and it's more likely to help retention. Next slide, Gary, will help you, or we'll move on to graduate apprenticeships. So the graduate apprenticeship is the newest apprenticeship within the 3 apprenticeship family, and ultimately allows the learner to work towards a degree while earning money. It's calculated it's around 80% in the employer's premises and 20% learning within the university, and this can look very different depending on which framework the person's doing. So it could be that there's 1 day per week we work at that 20%, so maybe Monday to Thursday they're in the employer's premises, and on the Friday they're either at university or attending virtually or just doing some study, or it could be that they're doing block learning. So maybe 1 week within 5 they're at the university or doing online learning. These places are fully funded by SDS, and there are no age restrictions whatsoever on being age 16 plus. And again, it's not just for new employers. It's not about getting graduates into your business or new staff. It can be used for upskilling existing employees too. They're offered across 14 universities in Scotland and 1 college, and there are 13 industry design frameworks. These are the frameworks here. So as I say, 13 different types on offer, and they're all in growing sectors with great career prospects. For those that are on the ball noticing there are 11 listed and not 13, it's because cybersecurity is offered at SCQF level 10 and 11, and civil engineering is at SCQF level 10. There's also a SCQF level 8 that works and leads directly into the GA. So as you can see there, from accountancy right through to engineering, design and manufacture to software development, cybersecurity, obviously in the world we're in at the moment, is a massive one, but all basically over 4 years working towards a degree. So what are the benefits against the employer? So if a student's at university doing engineering, for instance, they're going to be working with the university through their degree, working on hypothetical projects. Whereas a graduate apprenticeship will be focused on the projects they're currently working on. It'll be focused on their job, their current job role, and their employer. So this puts the work immediately into the practice and to the benefit of the employer and learner. Cybersecurity, I mentioned, they're ultimately going to be working on your employer, your IT systems, looking at different ways. So it won't just be as they finish their apprenticeship or their degree after 4 years, they'll suddenly put that in place. This will be getting put in place throughout the 4 years as they learn new aspects of it. Again, like the MA, this can be used for upskilling or rewarding existing staff. It's not just about attracting new employees. As I mentioned, it's over 4 years, so it certainly helps with retention, and staff will certainly feel invested in, which in turn boosts morale. As an employee, you can leave. It's not that you're suddenly restricted to those 4 years. You could choose to leave an employer, but it's not guaranteed that a new employer would be willing to offer the GA. So it certainly helps with retention. Interestingly, in the 2020 Apprenticeships Employer Survey, 100% of employers said they would take on a GA again in future, such as a success. So I guess you can get a better stat than that, than all employers willing to take on again. That is a quick overview. I say we've got questions at the end, but that is the products and offer. I'll move on to Gary.
Thanks very much, Scott. So kind of Scott just covered probably what the vast majority of people know Skills Development Scotland for in terms of funding and kind of managing all the apprenticeship programmes. And Scott kind of covered on the, one of the kind of strands of our employer offer, which is the kind of Skills for Growth team, which is the team that I kind of sit under. And what we've got is there's a programme that can support businesses in terms of giving them some consultancy work around looking and kind of managing their skills in their business. So first and foremost, Skills for Growth is a fully funded service. It says that it's for businesses between 5 and 250 employees. It's not necessarily that we're kind of limited to that business size of kind of 250. It's more around the benefits to the organisation. We can look at it, these kind of programmes by site, by department, by franchise, so we can kind of broaden it. It is a completely bespoke programme. And what it primarily does is it looks at the kind of business objectives. So what's the kind of real skills challenges that you're facing, or where's the kind of the opportunities to develop your skills? So that's the kind of key in terms of driver. It's there to support, business needs and potential. And what it does is it first and foremost, it looks at the kind of leadership and management skills and capabilities. So are the right leaders in place? Do they have the right skills? Is there the right clear kind of lines of communication, structures? It also looks at the organisation as a whole. So what it's looking at as the kind of policies, processes, and when I say policies and processes, I'm talking about that kind of, to people. So what's the employee relations like? The biggest part of Skills for Growth is to look at the human capital. So what are the current skills within your organisation, and what are the skills that needs to be harboured and developed, or harvested to try and ensure that when we bring it back round to that business objective, that either that growth objective or that kind of skills challenge that you're facing, that they're actually kind of people in the right position to support the business and develop naturally. And the last area of focus is around kind of ability to be innovative. And now when we talk about workplace innovation, we're talking about it purely from a people point of view. So how do you engage with your businesses? How do you attract people to the business? How do you develop people within the business? So that's the kind of parts that we're looking to do with the kind of innovation part. Now, we have a couple of breakout sessions, in the next 5 minutes with Emily and Kate. And Emily and Kate both work with Remarkable. And Remarkable is currently the organisation that we use to deliver our Skills for Growth programme. So it's all a fully qualified kind of consultancy service. Now you'll see there it says you got up to 2 days worth of fully funded consultancy. In actual fact, given the kind of current climate with the pandemic, and you know, the kind of skills and challenges that businesses face or opportunities that you know, that they may present. We can actually fund up to around 4 days kind of consultancy. That's actually getting somebody in to kind of work with your business. And as I said, with the breakout sessions that you're going to get later on, you're going to get a kind of taster, if you want, to potentially some of the areas that would be covered. And what happens when you've undertaken your skills for growth? So when you've had that kind of consultancy piece done, there's a report produced that's called a People Skills Action Plan. And that report is owned completely by your organisations. It's owned by the business. It gives you a series of recommendations. So that is, you know, what would be good to do. They kind of prioritise them kind of low, medium and high. And it allows you to kind of develop the people in your business at your own pace and work through the actions. But what Skills Development Scotland do is you get an allocated independent consultant, you know, SDS employee that works with you. And what their job's to do is to try and make sure that any actions you take forward in the People Skills Action Plan, that we're there to provide the right signpost and the right guidance, potentially access to funding, make the right introductions to you. But it's there to ensure that from an organisational point of view, that you're fully supported, you know, once you've undertaken the Skills for Growth programme. And this just outlines some of the benefits of undertaking Skills for Growth. So Scott outlined the kind of the funding around work-based learning. I mean, it's a great opportunity to either work with education to foster new young blood into your organisation, to reskill, upskill, develop any of your existing employees. And now with the development of graduate apprenticeships, you're now getting qualifications up to and including kind of master's level. So that's really kind of identifying the real stars in the business, or a totally different way of looking at talent attraction. You know, rather than maybe kind of waiting till somebody's actually come out of university qualified, you can actually train and develop them. And the beauty of it is with a graduate apprenticeship is that all the course material and development is all brought back and related to the business. I mentioned earlier as well that a lot of support around kind of recruitment and retention. So how do you recruit? Where do you recruit? What's the new kind of form in terms of developing job specifications? You know, writing a recruitment strategy plan, culture, visions and values. Again, you know, what's the culture like in the business? Are your values clearly identified? Do the staff buy into the vision of your organisation? So these are all outputs that come from undertaking Skills for Growth. We support the business planning and the structure of the organisation. Can I help maybe any post Skills for Growth activity, maybe help develop some of that, you know, by putting in additional support mechanisms or introducing to the right individuals. Access and funding. So SDS are completely impartial, so we're there to support the skills of your organisation and the opportunities or challenges that your organisations face. So from that point of view, we can introduce you to the right people or get support through the right kind of access to the right funding streams. I mentioned probably very early on, and Scott mentioned in his first slide around the engage with education piece. So it's ever more kind of critical now with the evolution of kind of skills and indeed kind of, you know, young people coming into jobs, and it's no longer a kind of career for life. So it's about ensuring that at the grassroots level, you know, from a local aspect, you know, from your organisation, that you get the right people in, you can work and shape education establishment to ensure that it works for your organisation or for your sector. It's kind of vitally important today, and you know, in the kind of war in talent. And lastly, not leastly, you know, kind of we can support with the career planning and the leadership and development. Now that is just a small sample of the benefits of Skills for Growth. As I said at the outset, it's a completely bespoke service, so therefore no two reports are the same, no two organisations, you know, go to it at the same kind of pace, you know, tackle it the same way. SDS are there to support all steps, and we use a professional consultancy service through Remarkable, who also deliver the Investors in People and Investors in Young People frameworks. So this is a great kind of fully funded service, and I'd be happy to speak to any organisation that's maybe interested or has any questions on it. The other support that I wanted to kind of mention in a wee bit more detail is the Flexible Workforce Development Fund. So the Flexible Workforce Development Fund is now in its 4th year of funding support. The vast majority might know the kind of route down the middle, which was for levy payers that could access up to £15,000 worth of support through their local college. And prior to the kind of COVID pandemic, the Scottish Government set aside a £10 million pot of money that was there to support levy paying businesses access funding and support through their colleges. This year, in August, they announced that they were doubling the fund to £20 million. And just in kind of November, December there, they also widened the route. So there's now the ability for all organisations to access the Flex Workforce Development Fund. And if I can quickly run through the 3 routes. So first of all, any business that's not a levy payer, that may be classed as a SME, small to medium enterprise, you can access up to £5,000 worth of support. Now, the Scottish Government class SMEs as any organisation with 250 or fewer employees, although you'll probably realise that if you're maybe a levy payer, that you do get some larger SMEs that are kind of levy payers, and therefore, if you're a levy paying and classed as an SME, you're unable to access both routes. So the £5,000 worth of support, that's delivered through either the college network or the Open University. All businesses that access the Flexible Workforce Development Fund must complete a training needs analysis. Now, the great thing is that if you don't have a training needs analysis, there are templated ones that are there to support, but also all colleges, Open University and Skills Development Scotland will support your business to develop and create a training needs analysis. So although it's delivered through the college and Open University, it's obviously then the training is delivered by the college or Open University. Now, obviously I appreciate that I'm sharing a slide with you, it's got hyperlinks in it. So at the end of this kind of workshop today, these slides were circulated and you can access the kind of hyperlinks that will take you direct to more information. So that is the kind of SME route. The Scottish Government put £5 million into that. So it is a first come, first served basis. So if you are an SME that's looking to access and develop some of the skills and talent in your business, then I would recommend speaking to your local college. If you want to speak to SDS, we would be more than happy to provide you the information to your local college. So that's if you're an SME. If you're a levy payer, you've now got 2 options available to you. So you've got the traditional option that's still delivered through the kind of colleges, and that allows you to get access up to £15,000 worth of support. Again, a training needs analysis is a pre-requirement to undertake, before you're approved for the funding. Training is delivered by all the colleges in Scotland. For a levy payer, you are allowed to nominate up to 2 supply chains. So you can either do that by directly awarding your money to your supply chain, or what you can do is you can include your supply chain employees to benefit from the training. And again, I've got the kind of hyperlink there within the Scottish Funding Council. So in November/December there, Skills Development Scotland was asked to kind of manage a £2 million pot of money for levy paying employers. So it's the same kind of principal rules in the fact that you can get access up to £15,000. The only difference being is that this fund is administered through Skills Development Scotland, and rather than being delivered by the college network, it's actually delivered by private training providers. So what it does is it allows organisations that are levy payers to go out and negotiate with providers, source their own specific training, come to SDS, make an application to access the fund, and then the way we deliver it is through a kind of grant contribution. So effectively, You get a grant award letter once you've outlined what you want to spend and who you want to spend it with. We give you a grant award letter that allows you to get the training delivered by the private provider, pay for the training, and then you kind of claim it back from Skills Development Scotland. And as you can see, there's kind of further information on our skillsforce.co.uk, or indeed if you're looking for more information or somebody to talk to, you can email Flexible Workforce Development Fund, fwdf@sds.co.uk. And just one kind of programme rule that's along the bottom, that training, it's really up to the business to kind of find what training is relevant for them and work with either the college or Skills Development Scotland to do that. But what the fund won't support is any industry qualifications or training where there's an obligation by law for the person to hold that for their job. So hopefully that is kind of giving you a wee taster to Skills for Growth in the Flexible Workforce Development Fund. There is a kind of last slide that I'll just kind of quickly run through, just given kind of time. So the most of these will probably know about the job retention scheme, but if not, you know, there's up to 80%, you know, worth of kind of wage support, or £2,500, whatever's the kind of higher amount to support and furlough employees and preserve jobs. There is a Kickstart fund, so it's helping support and create job placements for young people on universal credits or at risk of long-term unemployment. And you can get involved through any sort of employability provider. There is a range of other government support interventions in terms of that, self-employment income support and loan schemes. Again, you can either come direct to SDS or go direct to the government website. There is sector-specific, you know, and other targeted funding, including the Young Persons Guarantee Fund and the Green's Jobs Fund. So quite a lot of Scottish Government have got kind of pots of money. You've seen I don't know if anybody works in the hospitality sector, but there's been a fund to support the hospitality sector. There's obviously the Green Jobs Fund to create good, sustainable green jobs. There is a number of local authorities as well that are getting funding from the Scottish Government, and indeed getting some of their own funding, in part European social funding still, to support employers in the local area. PAM, who's our EEA in the area, or Scott Leishman, who you heard from earlier on, can support you and maybe provide you with some of the kind of local support funds and schemes that are out. There's an apprenticeship employer grant, so that's giving you up to £5,000 for upskilling an apprentice, and that was available from January and does run out quite soon, before the end of the financial year. So if anybody's looking at maybe recruiting a young person into the business or upskilling an apprentice, then, you know, if you want more information, we're happy to help. There still is the Adopt an Apprentice. So Adopt an Apprentice, if by any chance apprentices have been made redundant through no fault of their own, other businesses, if they're willing to allow them to undertake and finish their apprenticeship as a paid employee with your organisation, then you can get up to £5,000 worth of support to allow them to continue their apprenticeship. You've seen the Flexible Workforce Development Fund. I have mentioned Skills for Growth. We also have a Digital Catalyst Fund. Now, Digital Catalyst Fund is running between January and March, and it's a short, sharp, match-funded support there to allow organisations that are looking for digital kind of skills transformation to bid in to get support. It is another grant fund. There is a number of eligibility and entry requirements. It is around creating advanced digital skills within businesses. So if anybody's looking for more information, I'm more than happy to have a chat about the fund and how it can support your business. And lastly, we've got our our PACE offer, which is Partnership Action for Continuous Employment. So if there are MD within your business that is facing you know, the redundancy, we can support and offer that both service to businesses and services to individual employees as well. So apologies, I've ran through that quite quick, but I think the kind of important thing is maybe to move on to the two workshops that are going to be delivered by Emily and Kate. And Emily's going to look at the kind of skills required post-COVID for your leadership team. And Kate's looking at the kind of skills within the business. You know, did we ever stop training our staff during COVID? And if I can pass you back to Emma or Louise, thank you very much for listening.
I hope you found those workshops useful. Does anybody have any final questions or remarks? Anything you'd like to ask Remarkable or SDS? We're happy for you to unmute and ask, or you can pop it in the chat box and I'm happy to ask on your behalf.
I guess I had a quick question. It was kind of mentioned in our room that there's a bit of a lack of management skills training, that a lot of managers get promoted to management level without actually getting the skills training. And I just wondered if anybody from any of the companies had an idea on sort of why that is and how we could go about changing that, you know, what's needed to change that.
Great. I think that's a fantastic question, Harriet. And one of the issues is that traditionally we seem to have thought that those that were best at doing the doing are the ones that we should be promoting. But I'm sure you've probably seen this. What we end up doing is creating this horrible situation where a person who loved, let's say, accounting, suddenly finds that they're getting pressured to do a lot less accounting. And they've got to do the stuff that they don't necessarily like or even have great skills at, of managing the messy situations, of people issues, and how do I develop others, and how do I grow what we're doing. So we're taking them away from the stuff that they actually loved. I think to try to answer your question, we need to be having conversations within our workplace to say, do we even have a clear view of what great management looks like? Because if we haven't all had that conversation, you know, what Robert thinks versus what Louise thinks versus what Emily thinks could be really different things. And so the first step is to make sure, do we actually have clarity of, you know, what would we look like? And it doesn't have to be that we're the finished object, but rather an ambition. Let's try to get there. And then start to figure out, well, who is there now and who's not? And have good next conversations, because we need to maybe stop pushing people to be somebody they're not and help nurture what they're really good at and put them back into places where they can blossom.
That's great, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions they would like to ask? No, everything must have been covered.
I'll just point out though that there is management modern apprenticeships, and there's certainly the management graduate apprenticeships. I agree, actually. I worked in recruitment for years, and in sales roles or sales business, it happens all the time. The best salesperson gets put into management because they're so good at the job. And not only does the business lose their top salesperson, they don't want to manage people, they want to sell. And suddenly they're not happy in the role. And it doesn't help their retention of the staff below. So I agree. I think that automatic, they're the best person, move them up, that you should often see in sales isn't the right thing. So definitely worth looking at the MAs and the GAs when it comes to management, as an FYI.
That's great, thank you. So any final points from anyone before we wrap up for this session?
I was just going to say we unfortunately ran out of time in our session, so we were whisked back into the main room. But I guess wanted to we were talking about developing the skills of line managers, you know, for this new world. And I guess what I wanted to do is just link that back to what Gary spoke about earlier in terms of the Skills for Growth programme that he mentioned. Because one of the themes within that programme is around leadership and management, you know, and understanding what the skills challenges are within organisations, within management teams, you know, helping organisations to do some planning around that, you know, and there's, you know, understanding actually what does that person want as well. It's not just a sheet approach. So I just wanted to really just tie that in, because I think it's really important to point out that, you know, is one of the key elements of the Skills for Growth programme as well.
Absolutely, thank you. Well, I think if that's us for this session, I'd just like to thank Skills Development Scotland on behalf of the Chamber for this session, Scott and Gary for your presentations, which were very informative, and Emily and Kate for the breakout sessions, which I hope everybody found useful. What we'll do is we will send on the relevant slides to everybody who's attended today, so we'll follow up with that later on today. And if anyone else has any questions or anything that you didn't think of just now that you'd like to follow up with, then do let us know, and hopefully we can help or connect you with somebody that can help. And we have various events on throughout the course of this week. So this has been our first day. So we've got the first few events out the way, but we've got lots coming up for the rest of the week. So if you do have a look at the programme, make sure you register for some of the other events throughout the week. And hopefully we'll see you at something else soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.